have any questions, please go ahead and type it in the chat, and then one of us counselors will go ahead and answer that question for you. Greg, next slide for me, please.
Yeah, as we get started, also just want to make sure everybody's aware we are going to record this evening. And then what we'll do is we'll post it on West High's YouTube channel so that anybody who happens to miss it, we will make it available for folks to be able to go back through and watch the portions that you missed or that you wanted to hear again or whatever. Also, just so everybody knows, we would encourage folks to try and mute themselves just because we're going to be talking. If you have a question, we would encourage you to place it into the chat so that we can answer everything. We'll have a time for question and answer at the end. So anyway, just wanted to kind of set those ground rules as we get started. So I will click ahead.
All right, we'll just do some introductions here. My name is Trey Bronner. I have the last names A through E, so all four of us counselors are all split alphabetically. This is my first year here at Iowa City West, my second year as a counselor. Super excited to be here. I love Iowa City, love Iowa City West, so just very grateful. And I'll turn it over to Kelly.
All right, good evening, everybody. I am the real Kelly Bergman. So I did kind of update my screen to indicate that I am Miss Bergman, the school counselor. So nice to see all of you here, all of my fellow Bergmans. This is my 12th year as a school counselor at West High and my 17th overall. I just love being at West High. It's one of the best places on earth, I truly believe. And so we're happy to have your children joining us next year.
My name is Greg Yoder. I am counselor for students with last names M through R. This is year 11 for me at West High and year 23 for me as a school counselor. So done one or two of these in the past. It's always good to get back to this time of year. It's a sure sign that the school year is progressing rather rapidly.
Hi, my name is Shannon Arkfeld, and I will have the students with the last name S through Z. This is my 5th year as a school counselor, but my first year at West High School as a school counselor. I'm excited to be here. I worked at West previously before I was a counselor, and just really happy to get back here.
Okay. So just tonight's agenda here, just can kind of go over, who we are, how we can help support your student and your child. Also kind of learn about Iowa City's district requirements when it comes to graduation, as long as some specific graduation requirements as well. And then also provide an overview of how the registration process goes and just answer any common questions about high school. All right, so today all four of us counselors were at Northwest Junior High. We provided your students with some green registration forms and also a lot of this information that we're giving you guys tonight. We highly encourage you to talk with your student about that form and kind of look it over together, kind of see what they're taking next year. Also give your guys' input to your guys' students. And then Friday, we will be back to Northwest to kind of finalize those course requests, put those in Infinite Campus, and then registration will close that day. Kelly?
All right, so about school counseling, I just want to talk to you really briefly about what our role is as a high school counselor. First and foremost, and probably most obviously, we work with students and parents with course registration, planning, and their actual schedule. So a lot of what we did today will also be what we're talking about to you this evening, but just talking to students about what different options are available to them as freshmen, the difference between a regular class, an honors, and an AP class, and just how all of their classes fit together in a schedule. Throughout their time in high school, we stay with them for all 4 years. So we'll talk to them a lot about career exploration, college research, applications, scholarships, and also just making sure that your kids are happy and healthy humans as they go throughout high school. So making sure that they like their schedules, they like their teachers, they're doing well social and emotionally, and they're just ready to then move on to the next stage of life, whatever that is after high school. There's a couple really big differences between junior high and high school. I'm actually going to start at the bottom. High school only has 7 periods in the school day. So it was kind of fun to watch the kids' reactions. Some of them didn't know that we only had 7 periods. So as they were going through and working through the worksheet in class today, it was kind of fun to see how they really had to start figuring out what they wanted to focus on. A lot of them had a lot of classes that they were excited to take. It's one of my favorite things about West High and really Iowa City in general is all the options that kids have. But it does get a little condensed. So we only have 7 periods in our school day. The other thing that we really talked to them a lot about was making sure that they understand that their grades truly do matter now that they'll be in high school. Not that grades don't matter in junior high, and we talked a little bit about that difference, but in high school, your grades become part of a permanent transcript, which also impacts your grade point average. So that grade point average is really used by employers. It can be used for discounts on car insurance. And obviously it's used for your college applications. So starting from the first day that students walk in the doors, their grades truly matter. One of the hardest conversations we have as school counselors is when kids get to be seniors, let's say they really want to apply to the University of Iowa, but unfortunately they didn't have the grades throughout high school to be able to apply to go there. So we really talk to students about making sure that they're doing the best they can in the classes that they have, and also being really thoughtful about the classes that they're choosing throughout this registration time. The other thing we talk to them about is if they don't pass a class, they have to retake it. So for example, we'll talk in a minute about graduation requirements. If you don't pass a particular class in English, math, science, or social studies, you have to repeat that course. So for example, if a student for whatever reason doesn't end up passing the first trimester of English 9, they have to repeat the first trimester of English 9. But those were funny faces as well. So really kind of working with your kids to understand that although a lot of things are very similar, things are also very different when they get to high school. Graduation requirements. So this is a quick snapshot of all of the different things that students have to take care of in order to earn a high school diploma. You'll see in the bottom corner in green that students need 305 credits. That seems like a lot of credits. However, you earn 5 credits per class per trimester. So for example, every freshman will take a year of English 9. That is 5 credits times 3 trimesters in the school year, so 15 credits per year-long class. In reality, most of our students graduate with far more than 305 credits because they're taking a lot of electives. They're probably taking extra years of social studies, math, and science. So 305 is the minimum. We also have to have classes in the correct places. So that's where this breakdown comes as well. All students will take 4 years of English. 3 years of social studies, math, and science are required. We'll talk a little bit more in a minute about PE. PE gets really tricky, and there's also been some new changes to PE requirements where there's a lot more options for waivers for students to not take PE. But the general rule for PE is that you have to account for at least 1 trimester of PE every year a student is in high school. That's the easiest way to say it, but again, we'll talk a lot more about that in a minute. All students need to take at least 1 trimester of health. Most of them do it during their freshman year, and then we round things off with electives. The one thing you will not see here in graduation requirements is a world language. So our district does not require a foreign language to graduate. However, college admissions require at least 2 years of the same world language. We strongly encourage every student at some point in high school to be through the 2nd year or the 2nd level of a world language. That way they have that requirement if they do choose to go on to college in the future.
So this is an example of our worksheet that we sent home with the students today. We worked through all of the 8th grade students, just selecting their 4 core classes. And then we had them write in if they wanted to take a PE or a foreign language or what electives. We ask that you as parents ask the students to see the green sheet that they brought home, kind of review it with them, talk through it, see if you approve of it. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and email us. We want the students to bring it back to school tomorrow or Friday, hopefully Friday. We will be back in all the classrooms, and then we're going to be submitting this into the computer and registering the students. So some common terminology that we were talking to the students about today was what's the difference between honors and advanced placement? Honors is something where the class is going to move at a faster pace. Students can choose to take an honors level course. However, we really emphasize that a student takes a class that is set to their needs. We don't want students taking a class just because their friends are taking it. We want it to be set for their needs. So, for instance, if your student currently is taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade, they will have a choice to take either geometry or geometry honors. It is more rigorous. It does get students prepared for AP coursework, which AP coursework is college level coursework. It is weighted towards their GPA. All AP courses are year-long courses with an AP exam in May at the end of the year. Should students score appropriately on the AP exam, that will be counted as college credit. So we do have a class or a few classes that students can take their freshman year, and we'll talk about that later on.
Okay. So now I think we're going to talk about some typical questions that come up a lot of times. 9th graders can take English 9 honors. However, at this time in the process of registering for courses, all students will be signing up for English 9. And then once they get to school and they getting their feet under them, figuring out where all the different classes are and what they want to do, their English 9 teacher will actually visit with them in class about the differences and similarities between the English 9 curriculum and the English 9 honors. The 9 honors is just, again, colleges want to see that students are challenging themselves, that they are taking a rigorous course load whenever possible, and that the honors piece teaches students as part of it. There's some critical thinking that goes on that prepares them for advanced placement coursework down the road. So there's really nothing that students have to do at this time. If students sign on to do honors when they get to school in the fall, what will happen is the 9 honors will actually go onto their transcript once with their grades finalized at each term. The second thing that is a question for a lot of students and parents, there is AP Human Geography versus American Studies as an option for 9th graders who come in for social studies options. So the AP Human Geography course actually fulfills our world history graduation requirement. So some students who really enjoy learning, they're conscientious students, they do their homework on a daily basis, they come prepared for class, they really enjoy their academics, they get good grades. If they want the additional challenge, they could sign on to take AP Human Geography. Of all of our AP courses, our faculty feels very strongly that AP Human Geography is a great introductory course in that it's not too much work, but it's a good kind of gap bridge into that jumping into the world of AP coursework. And so that's a great first place to start. If students aren't 100% sure about it, they could sign on to do American Studies as a 9th grader, and then they could choose to take AP Human Geography as a sophomore. That's entirely possible as well. Or they could do it in inverse, and they could do AP Human Geography as a 9th grader, and then they could do American Studies as a sophomore. Or they could, at that point, choose to take AP US History. So that's the difference between those two social studies options. The next thing that we have listed there is performance PE. And this is dependent upon each individual student and what their interests are. A lot of times ninth graders, some students, they want to be involved in lots of sports. Some students don't want anything to do with sports. Our physical education department does a really, really good job of teaching kids the proper technique when it comes to lifting. And many of our coaches strongly encourage students to take part in that performance PE curriculum, because it gives students an opportunity to lift during the day so that they don't have to worry about that after hours. Students do get the PE credit for it. It counts for 5 credits. Some students actually choose to do it all year long. And it kind of depends on what sports students are most interested in. Our freshman football players, it's recommended that they would take performance PE during the first trimester. So that would be performance PE 1. And then after that, a lot of times they lift together. And so then they would take performance PE 2 during second and third trimesters. We do have a number of different PE classes. What used to be called lifestyle fitness. It's got a little bit of a different name, but that's an individualized workout. Team and recreational activities is a regular PE class where they play the different sports. I think there's a fitness and dance class. And then what I tell kids, there's also an ultimate fitness, and that's if students really like to sweat, the teachers really do a great job of getting kids, their heart rates up, and they work really, really hard in that class. So that's kind of overview of performance PE. Also, if a student is interested in basketball, we would recommend that maybe they take performance PE first trimester in preparation for basketball so that they are in good shape. Their muscles are firing a little bit, and basketball season maybe isn't quite as big of a shock to their system. So that helps their transition. PE waivers, there's lots of different opportunities for PE waivers. If students take a full academic load, that's what's known as a PE academic waiver. So if they take 7 classes per trimester for all 3 trimesters, that would be an academic waiver. Otherwise, if students don't want to take a PE class because they're in a sport, they can now choose to waive that. And that's just simply known as the PE waiver. Additionally, the governor signed last spring that students can choose to waive PE if they're in marching band or they are part of a show choir as well. So those are a couple different options to be able to waive PE. The other thing when talking about health is a graduation requirement. The vast majority of our students take it as 9th graders. Early bird health is an opportunity. We offer that 3rd trimester if students want to take the health requirement before school, because maybe they're taking 7-year-long classes and they just don't have time to fit it into their day. They could do it before school. That would typically start about 7:45. Normal school day starts at 8:50, just like it does in junior high. If students and families choose, they could opt for a health waiver. If that's something that you would like for your child, please don't hesitate to reach out to their counselor. That's something that we can add on. If you email us, that's something that we could add on our end so that then they wouldn't have to worry about that health piece. So other common questions, a lot of students want to take part in either band, choir, orchestra. If students want to be part of both orchestra and band, they could do that. There is an option called orchestra/band. They could indicate that under the music as an elective, and they could do that all 3 trimesters. Otherwise, there are some additional things that they could, in the coming months, they could potentially audition for some more advanced bands or more advanced orchestras if they so choose. Additionally, there's choirs, and so just some other things, but we did want to point out that orchestra/band option. One of the questions that came up today, students asked, do you have an A-B day? Unfortunately, we don't. That orchestra band is the only real combo thing that we really offer, where students kind of go back and forth between the band room and the orchestra room. World languages we touched on before. We do offer 2 languages. We offer both Spanish and French. And for the first time this next fall, students, if student is a native Spanish speaker, they could choose to take a Spanish for heritage speakers course if they so choose. Otherwise, if students are currently in like Spanish 1, they'd probably look to take either Spanish 2 or Spanish 2 honors. Similarly, French, if they're currently in French, they could choose to continue on with the next French course. So those are just a couple of options there. Those are the only two languages that we do offer within our building. Then IEPs and 504s, obviously students have accommodation plans, and case managers of IEPs will work to transition as students come over to West High, and kind of more or less hand off IEPs and accommodations to the next case manager. Additionally, 504s usually get forwarded on to counselors, and then we kind of follow up with those and update those as necessary. And then the last question that comes up a lot of times has to do with study hall and courses. When the students are going through the registration sheet, some students get hung up on, well, I want to do this first try, and I want to do this second try, and I want to do this third try. For the most part, students can't really select exactly which trimesters they're going to have certain courses. The computer will place those where it fits best. The reason I say that, as an example, maybe painting. For this current year, the 23-24 academic year, I think we have 2 sections of painting, and they're both being offered in the 3rd trimester. So if a student signs up for painting for first trimester, it's just, this year it wouldn't have worked. And so students need to recognize that, oh, you don't have 20 sections of every course. Now, the only exception to that, if a student really wants to do a performance PE during a specific trimester, we do allow for that. So students will make sure that they get signed up for the correct trimester of a performance class, because we do recognize that that is really important as students are preparing to take part in different sports. Okay. And then the last piece with that, study hall, if students want to take, at minimum, we recommend that students take 6 classes per trimester, and then they don't have to actually sign up for a study hall. Study hall will actually be placed into their schedule. It's kind of the last thing we do when we build schedules from the fall. And the computer does a pretty good job of trying to balance those out so that students don't have 5 classes one trimester and 7 the next. So if a student wants to have 6 classes per try, the computer does its best, and then a lot of times we have to go in and tweak things that we notice might be a little bit out of balance in that sense. So those are just a few of the more common questions that we have. I was just going to take a look. I didn't see any. If you have any additional questions, I would encourage you guys to post them in the chat. If it is a specific question about your child, I would encourage you to reach out to your counselor, your child's counselor directly. Again, I'm going to put up another slide here in a minute that'll list all of our email addresses, as well as kind of a breakdown of which students we serve. So again, here is that chart. If you have any questions, please, I would encourage you to post it to the chat. We will kind of take those as they come up.
So I see a question, is there a listing of electives and when they're available? That actually isn't decided until over the summer as part of our master schedule. So what we do now is we take all of the requests that students have in current grades 8 through 11, and we decide how many different sections of each class we're going to offer, and then eventually when they'll be offered. So right now, students just have the ability to choose any class that they want. If for some reason that class over the summer does not fit into their schedule, your counselor would be in touch with you. So right now you're kind of just doing your best guess of all of the classes that they want to take, and then we do our best to make sure that they all fit in.
There was a question I did see about Success Center. If a student is currently in Success Center, they would have that ability to be able to sign up for that. That is available through Infinite Campus and on the registration sheet. If your child has not been in Success Center before, I would encourage them to have a conversation with their their current counselor, just to make sure that that's appropriate. And then, yeah, I don't see any reason why that would be a problem.
So, question on online classes. West High School does not offer online classes. So, for example, you could not choose to take your American Studies course online. Our district currently does have an online learning program that students are able to enroll in, which would be a fully online curriculum, but unfortunately, we do not have any specific online courses just for West High students. I'll take another question. So enrollment in choir, yes, if a student is interested in doing show choir or extracurricular choir, they must also be enrolled in an in-person choir course.
Another question, if a student waives PE or health, do they need to make up the credits? No, they don't. That's where it gets a little tricky. Students have to account for PE and health. If they take the class, it counts for 5 credits. If they take the waiver, it doesn't count for any credits, but that kind of gets listed on their transcript that they waived health or they waived PE during that year.
Yes, if a student is taking a high school level course in junior high, it does show up on their high school transcript. So if they're taking a level 1 of a world language, or if they're taking Algebra 1, or they're taking Earth and Space Science, then those will show up as high school credit on their high school transcript.
Next
question. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shannon.
I was going to say a question that came up was, can we point out the electives that are not available to freshmen? The freshmen should all be bringing home a green registration sheet tonight. All of the electives are on the back of that registration sheet. If you don't see it on the back of the sheet, then it's not something that is offered to a freshman. However, they could also have a conversation with their counselor a little more in depth to talk about when they could possibly fit that in their schedule later on, their 10th grade year, 11th grade year.
For orchestra and really all music, yes, typically those teachers go over to the junior highs and talk to students who are interested in taking some kind of music at the high school. They may do auditions to be placed into different higher level musics.
So yes,
Go ahead,
there
Shannon.
is a description of all of our courses online. If you go to the Iowa City School District website and you search for Program of Studies, we have an updated version of our Program of Studies, and it'll give you a really nice course description. I think we may also be able to link it in here, so give us a second.
Also, I see one of the questions has to do with prerequisite for Principles of Engineering. I think POE, Principles of Engineering, has a prerequisite of Algebra 1. Computer Science Principles, I don't think it necessarily has a prerequisite. Please do know that both of those courses are dual credit courses, meaning they're both high school and college credit courses. The college credit comes from Kirkwood Community College. So it's a neat opportunity for kids to get dual credit. That's also an additional weighted course.
We also had a question about students wanting to take classes at Kirkwood. Yes, we offer so many things with Kirkwood. Honestly, that is a much more individualized conversation because there are a lot of different ways that students can piece together schedules. The thing to know with Kirkwood is that the only Kirkwood course that counts toward high school graduation is Composition 1 and 2. That is only taken in the student's junior or senior year, typically. So we do pair a lot with Kirkwood. There are a lot of options for students to take Kirkwood classes, either online or in person at the Regional Center, which is off of Oakdale Boulevard in Coralville. So yes, that is an option. However, that does require a lot more specific planning with your child's school counselor. So just please reach out to us if you have more specific questions about your child.
I did see a question about a PE waiver. If your student's going to be in multiple sports, just sign up for the first trimester in which they're planning to be in a sport, if they wish to waive. So like first trimester, PE waiver for try one.
I'll answer the question about AP classes. On the registration form for AP students for freshmen, you will see the AP Human Geography, which again is a social studies or world history credit. There is also an AP Computer Science course. That AP Computer Science course students have to be either currently in or through Algebra 2. So there is a prerequisite for that class. Most freshmen, if they're interested in taking an AP class, will start with that AP Human Geography class. It's really great. It's designed for 9th and 10th grade students, and it also does a really great job of teaching students how to do an AP class. Time management, note-taking, how to write essays, those kinds of things.
If a student signs up for a sports PE waiver, would additional electives be allowed? Yes, they would. Or they could choose to take a study hall, whatever works, whatever they're wanting to do, whatever you as a family would like them to do.
Okay, so for seminar ELP, at the high school level, there is no class or specific programming for it because we have so many options available to students in terms of courses, as well as specific guidance for college and career through their school counselor. There is no actual class.
Yes, the last question I see, if we open enrolled Northwest, I believe a voluntary transfer form would need to be completed. That would be more of a question for the
Mr. Yoder's frozen.
I know, I think he's frozen.
Yeah, in that specific instance, I would encourage you to contact the district office and make sure that everything is in line for your child to transfer directly to West High. Great questions. I think maybe the biggest takeaway too is that in high school, your child has so many opportunities, almost so many that it's impossible for us to talk about all of them tonight. So really use us as their school counselor. You'll be with us for all 4 years to kind of talk about what your child's goals are, what their aspirations are, classes they're good at, classes they're not, and we will help advise you all throughout those 4 years on what might be the best options for your child.
I did go ahead and link the program of studies into the group chat. If you aren't able to click on that link, you can always go through our district website. You would just go through Iowa City School or Iowa City Schools and then click on student, parents, or academics, and you'll be able to find it there.
So we will stick around for a little bit longer if there are any additional questions. The biggest takeaway is that we will be returning, hopefully, on Friday to Northwest to help students finalize their course registration. So we understand it's a really quick turnaround. Hopefully your students really took heart today. A lot of them were working really hard, asking really great questions. Make sure you're talking to them about different options that they looked at. Check out that little worksheet that's at the top where it kind of talks about what their schedule might look like, and then have them come ready on Friday to click some buttons and actually register for some classes. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Counselors, I'm looking at the bus question. I believe that's part of the registration process. So there's kind of two different processes. There's the registration process that parents have to do within Infinite Campus every year to kind of update contacts, all of those things. And right now we're currently just in the course selection process. So yes, you can contact a guidance office. We can help you with that. And then that will also be part of the actual registration you'll do annually over the summer.
So one of the questions in the chat, where can we see electives available for 10th graders? Again, if you go into the program of studies, it will lay out which classes are available to which grades. And it will also tell you prerequisites, if they have to take a class ahead of that, things like that. So again, I would say go to program of studies. That'll kind of lay it all out for you. And then do students automatically get lockers, or is it requested? When they come in for their orientation in August, there will be a QR code that they can scan if they want a locker. They'll request that through one of our secretaries. It'll be assigned. Not every student wants a locker, so we've kind of switched to the process of kids requesting it. When they request it, they do get a locker.
When and where will the recording be posted? Our goal is when we get back to school tomorrow is we'll have the tech folks download it to our YouTube page, and then we will be sending out that link similarly as an email for folks so that you can access the recording. So we'll be sending it out directly to all parents for those that were in attendance and those that were not able to attend this evening. And yes, all high school courses are on Canvas.
For the math placement, that can be really tricky. I would really encourage your child to talk to their math teacher currently. And then worst case scenario, we always advise students to start higher. So we would advise students, if they're getting an A or a B in their current Algebra 1 class, have them sign up for honors. If it's the first 3 weeks in August and September and the geometry honors is moving too fast for them, we can always move them down to traditional geometry. 3 weeks into the school year, we cannot move them up. So when in doubt, always go with the higher level or the honors level course, and then we can always adjust if needed. But again, really use your junior high teachers. They know your child best at this point, and so use them as a resource over the next couple days.
I'm going to stop the recording now, just so everybody's aware.